Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are still in Zurich here at the Zurich Invest offices, which are our new studio here in Zurich, I would call it. And with me here is Claude Lemasson, the President and CEO of Eastmain Resources. And we want to chat a little bit about the company and get a nice update. Claude, welcome.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Glad to be in Zurich.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Always a pleasure having you here. Eastmain Resources. I mean, we had the pleasure to do an interview, I think it was beginning of January. So some good things happened so far. You have a nice balance sheet still. Maybe you can comment a little bit on the work which you have done this year so far and which is coming up.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. We do have 3 projects that we are working on in northern Quebec, in the James Bay area. Those 3 projects were advancing actively through drilling. So it was a very large drilling program, in total 75,000 meters, that we started late last year, last summer, and that we're actually completing all of the drilling in April this month. And our current balance in the bank, our current cash is around $9 million Canadian.
That's good.
So we're well funded, and we have enough money to go on, keep on going for at least the next 6 months on our programs. We've had a lot of good progress actually in the last 3 months, particularly a lot more drilling, great results coming out of the 3 projects that we're working on, particularly at Clearwater, where we're really advancing that project significantly. That's where we have our main resource, and that, as I mentioned, that drilling is completing. So the next milestones for that will be getting all the results, and so we're going to get a lot of results in the next 2 to 3 months.
So big news flow.
Yeah, big news flow from the drilling campaign wrapping up. At that point, in and around July, we expect to issue a new mineral resource estimate on Eau Claire, and that's fairly important milestone for us. And that'll be followed by at the end of 2017, the end of the year, with a PEA, a preliminary economic assessment, and that'll really wrap up our current work. What's also interesting is in the second half of the year, so from July to December, we are currently planning 3 major drill campaigns on each one of the projects. So three campaigns in total. We're currently defining those, but a lot of those campaigns will be growth focused. So we're doing it to expand resources, and that'll be very interesting.
That's really really important. That's the key of drilling, of course.
Absolutely.
So how many ounces you have by now in the resource, and what may be for you a good target? I mean, you just cannot say how many ounces you have, but is, let's say, with that amount of drilling, I mean, will you enlarge resource, let's say, by 50%, or maybe even you can double that?
So ultimately, and if we're thinking over the I'm going to say the medium term, and if we're talking about the next year to year and a half, certainly we could expand significantly the resource. The current campaign, which is the drilling that we're doing at Eau Claire, particularly on Clearwater project, is really focused on quality. So it's really to improve the interpretation, the understanding of the deposit, do closer spacing. So we don't expect much of an expansion from this resource estimate coming out in July, but with the growth drilling to follow and having a new resource after that, certainly that's where you're going to see fairly significant expansion on the resources themselves. The other thing that is interesting is on our second project, which is called the Eastmain Mine Project. This is an historical resource that we're revisiting. We currently have about 256,000 ounces of historical resource. We are currently planning, and we're working on that right now actually, on converting that into a 43-101 resource. And that will happen later this year. So we're going to see some growth within the company simply because we don't consider historical resource as being able to count on them. But once they're 43-101, we will. So we do expect a resource expansion at the Eastmain Mine project, and that could be very exciting.
Fantastic. I mean, that would mean then real value to the company.
Absolutely.
Because then you have proved it that it is really there.
Exactly.
Sensational. And also, can you maybe, let's say, lift up the categories? Because you said you do narrow spacing. So that sounds to me like a little bit you are bringing up, let's say, from inferred to indicated, measured?
That's correct. So we do have obviously a mix right now of measured, indicated, and some inferred. There's no question that we're going to be switching around the categories and improving on some of those. I can't say how much right now. It's really hard to tell until we do the work.
But you're working on it. That's important. I mean,
absolutely. We have drilled in areas where we have inferred and we've improved the drilling, and I would expect some of those to move into indicated for sure.
Fantastic. That sounds to me like a really big work program you have, and you said with the money you are saved for the next 6 months. So does that mean then you have to raise, let's say, by fall again some money, or?
That's correct. We're in no rush now because we are well funded, as I mentioned, but eventually, yes, if we want to continue drilling, I'm going to say, into the fourth quarter of this year and into next year, typically we look at raising funds for a good year to 18 months. If that's our intention, then we definitely will have to go back to the market and raise some money, I would say later this year.
Okay, fantastic. Other question, let's put it a bit more in the long-term perspective. I mean, drilling is fine, that's fantastic. Finding ounces for geologists, the best in life, what could happen. But I mean, longer term, where and what do you think you can bring in production, and what might be a time frame for
Absolutely.
that?
So on 2 of the 3 projects, the third project is a smaller project that is a very early stage, so that'll take more time to prove out. But on 2 of the 3 projects, so on Clearwater and Eastmain Mine, both of them have the potential to, first of all, grow the resource, establish them. Obviously, Clearwater is slightly ahead of the Eastmain Mine, so we're leading to, as I mentioned, a PEA by year end. That is step number 1 of the studies. We would then move into, with more drilling, more information, more studies, we would move into potentially a pre-feasibility study, eventually a feasibility study. There's also some environmental permitting to be done with that. But if we look at all that overall, we're talking 2 to 3 years. Eventually could lead to a production decision. And if we do decide to do that after a feasibility study, then we would build, could take a couple of years, and then we would be producing. So if we're thinking production, we're still thinking at least 5 years out.
Okay.
But we are systematically advancing the project towards that. I would say Eastmain Mine is roughly on a similar schedule, maybe slightly behind, to be able to grow the resource first. Then we would look at doing a PEA.
Of course.
And then the same stages to follow. So you have 2 fairly significant projects that could move forward in parallel over the next 4 to 5 years to get to production. And that would be our intent and a step-by-step approach.
Fantastic. So maybe a takeover target then. Because all the big boys are searching for good ounces.
Supposedly they are. So we will see where that takes us. But the one thing I want to mention on that is that we are doing all of the right steps, as my background is mine building and mine operations, to be able to move these assets forward systematically, to actually build them and potentially operate them. So we are really in a mode of properly and systematically moving these assets forward for value for the shareholders, and we're tapping into that value now.
Fantastic. Maybe can you comment on, let's say, some of your latest drill results? Can you say what grades have you had over what widths?
Sure.
Or intercepts?
Sure. I'll give you a couple of examples, but some of the latest drill results at Clearwater on the Eau Claire deposit, we had some reasonable results that were, we drill mainly, the deposit goes from surface to about 300 meters deep. So we're drilling in that range right now. We've had results like 11 grams per ton over 13 meters.
Nice.
We've had results like 15 grams per ton over 7 meters. So fairly decent widths and decent grades, very strong. That confirms the strength of the deposit and the higher grade of the deposit. That's for Clearwater. At Eastmain Mine Project, we have what we call a VMS style system. So we have actually gold, silver, and copper. And as an example, we announced a discovery earlier this year which has really, really high grades. And we hit an intercept at 15 meters of depth. So right at surface, the intercept was 10.5 meters long. And the grades were 42 grams gold, 30 grams silver, and 0.5% copper.
That's very healthy.
Very significant. That's why, and we backed that up with 4 more holes. All of them intercepted in the top 100 meters. And based on that, we announced the discovery early this year. So these are the kind of results we're looking for. Obviously, this is very exciting for us, and we think that both projects have tons of potential to improve and grow.
Perfect. That was a great final sentence. Thank you very much on that. And yeah, I would say keep it going, keep the drills running, and we look forward to a great news flow.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yes, perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, there was Claude Lemasson, the President and CEO of Eastmain Resources, and you heard that the drills are turning, very aggressive drill programs. They did already 75,000 meters per drill since last year, and the company has still over $9 million in the bank, which is very healthy. Of course, they need to raise a little bit more because they want to drill more out, but they are on a systematic and strategic way on production, on the path to production, even if it takes another 4 to 5 years. But I would say the valuable and the key point is they are adding with every drill value to the company, and that's important for shareholders. And they are in the right location, Quebec, Canada, fantastic mining jurisdiction, of course, as you know that. So check out the company. Thanks for watching us. Bye-bye from Zurich.